Hey folks, John here. This is the Blue Water Outlook Weekly Weather Briefing. You know, a lot going on across the country. I think some of the bigger stories are a major flood wave coming down the upper Mississippi and also some really cool and stable air overspreading a large part of the nation that's going to last into the early part of May. Let's get started in today's briefing. I'll be talking about those topics and more. Well, here's the cold front that produced a lot of adverse weather last week. The cold air, cooler air, is behind it. But look at all the severe storm reports, snow, heavy rain, unfortunately some fatalities with these tornado reports south of Oklahoma in the Oklahoma metro area. So this front here did produce a lot of adverse effects. Now behind it, this big area of high pressure, that's cool and stable air, and I'll be talking about that quite a bit in today's briefing. Now we did have more snow, and this is the snow on the ground. It looks like 2 to 4 inches for the most part. Not a whole lot is melting. The areas in white show minimal melt over the last 24 hours, but this is the forecast for Minneapolis, and this time of year you can see that will be melting over the next couple days. With temperatures in the 30s overnight, it'll slow at night, and that's good. It won't all just go at once, but it's going to go fairly quick with highs in the 50s. Here's our precipitation last week. We had some heavy precipitation over the Pacific Northwest, especially coastal regions. Over the eastern U.S., we had a number of thunderstorms. We had some severe storms around the populated centers of New York City and Philadelphia. This is an area here of precipitation that added that additional snow, and liquid equivalents here, that's 2 inches or more, and that's why the flood forecasts coming downstream have been raised a bit and a little bit higher. So that's a significant amount, a couple inches of liquid precipitation in that region. So right now we have a cool and stable air mass. Sunday morning readings here, 30s extended as far south as Arkansas, Missouri, Kansas. And it's also a very dry air mass. You can see here, not much chance of severe storms with dew points in the teens and 30s in Kansas. Now take a look at South Texas, dew points in the 60s and 70s, and that is where our chances of severe storms will be. So we're going to reverse things a bit. Take a look at the western U.S., which has been well below normal for quite some time, and that's going to be reversed. The eastern U.S., quite a bit above normal last week, and that's going to be reversed as well as we go forward. Now we did have temperatures in the 90s and even near 95 in the far south part of Texas. Anything in red hit 90 degrees. And take a look at the cold weather in the west. Blue, overnight lows in the 20s, purple 10 degrees to 20 degrees, and even at the higher elevations, colder. So this flood wave is working down the Mississippi River, generally from around Minneapolis down to the Missouri border. And you can see a number of sites are getting way up here. This is Dubuque, this is the record level, and this is the forecast, and it's still rising here. So this is going to be something that's going on for the next couple of weeks with the spring flood wave. And you can see some of the cities here where major river flooding is expected. And when we get into major river flooding, that's when we get into perhaps some inundation of secondary roads and generally some more significant issues. Moderate, it's a little bit more spotty. We can have some problems, but when we get into major, that's when it's more significant. Okay, so I talked about the cooler weather and more stable. The North American oscillation is expected to be highly negative. And what that means is that the jet stream is going to be sagging to the south, and this is days 5, this is days 6, 7, and 8. So all the way through the period, that jet stream sags to the south. And what that means is cooler air is going to be overspreading the central and eastern U.S. This is the next 5 days. And this is the following 5 days getting into early May. That's what I mean. Look at the western U.S., which has been persistently cold, will now be enjoying some nice mild weather. The central U.S., these are temperature departures 10 to 15 degrees cooler than normal, and that's going to be settling into the early part of May. Now, as far as precipitation goes, it looks fairly quiet because we're having that stable air, but there will be a little bit more precipitation. It's more light to moderate. That'll add a little bit to the flood wave. I think it's going to be more prolonging the flood wave than adding much to it. But this is an area we need to really keep an eye on over the next number of weeks. The heaviest rain will be over South Texas, the far southeast U.S., and the far coastal regions, as well as Oklahoma and Arkansas and parts of northern Texas. So here's the extended outlook here, and you can see right through week 2, cool, mostly dry. This is good news for that flood wave on week 2 with not having much rain, if any, over the upper Mississippi River Basin. And there's week 3 and 4, that's also good, not getting any. So we want those rivers to crest and start to recede. So like I said, the big story is going to be in that 6 to 10 day, pretty significant temperature departures, cool in this region and mild in that region. And finally, I want to sort of point out some of the weather threats this week. There's our flood wave in this area. We have some flooding rain with that heavy rain in this area right here. Frost and freeze warnings, and an enhanced risk for severe storms in South Texas today and some more severe storms on Tuesday. That's your weekly weather briefing. A lot going on as we would expect in spring, but some cooler and stable weather. So some of the typical areas where we would expect severe storms in the Midwest look pretty quiet right now heading into May. Have a great week.